Hi everybody, my name is Sarah Roddy and I'm here with Alan Buhanda. We are a couple of fellows who work at the Center for Faith and Spirituality here on campus. Alan, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Well, thank you, Sarah. I'm Alan Buhanda. I'm a sophomore in aerospace engineering here at Embry-Riddle. I'm a fellow, as she mentioned as well, and I work primarily with the Catholic Student Union here on campus, and I'm affiliated with a few other groups on the campus as well.
All right, well, let's dive right into our topic for today. So I wanted to ask you a couple questions about mainly how interfaith dialogue and your work with interfaith here on campus has positively affected your life and your worldview.
Okay. So, the first interfaith experience I had, we actually shared this experience, was going to the Interfaith Youth Conference in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
That was in January of 2017. And I had kind of entered that conference rather closed-minded. I had kind of gone in and wasn't really open to other opinions other than mine. If someone else had a view that differed from mine, I was pretty adamant to know that I wasn't appreciative of that. And going into the Interfaith Youth Conference with that mindset it was quite a culture shock. Only because from what on my little circle, what my little world was, I knew everything that I needed to know. But once I was kind of placed in the interfaith setting, I realized that I knew nothing about other religions except maybe the most basic concepts or just misconceptions altogether of those religions. And I'm a cradle Catholic, so being raised Catholic, I only did Catholic-related events and things, and the area I lived in California was primarily Christian, and so I didn't have as much exposure to other religions that are not as common, at least in that area, so, anything relating to Jehovah's Witness, Judaism, any of those other religions, it was hard to find in that area where I live in because it was just predominantly a white Christian community. And so going to the Interfaith Youth Conference, I was able to kind of realize that it was like, okay, I don't know everything. And it definitely humbled me in the sense that it was like, okay, you have a lot to learn still, and you have a lot to understand still. It's one thing to learn about things. It's another to grasp the concept and understand exactly what sort of work we're getting into. So with that being said, I was able to kind of begin to understand religions just from normal conversations, and it was like some of the misconceptions I had were completely wrong, and they were very misleading as to what that religion stood for or what that worldview stood for. And I think it was really important for me to go through that because the person I am now today, and largely the reason why I find interfaith work so important, is just how much it brings not just people together, but it can bring whole communities together, and it can really establish a presence of genuine care for each other, regardless of worldview or religion. And I found myself happier from being able to connect on a more, I see it as more as a connect on a spiritual level, in the sense that there's something greater than us that we kind of can share and have that mutual understanding, but it also helps me with my own religion, my own faith as a Catholic, being able to interact with other people who are very passionate about their religion, and then kind of coming back and saying wow, they're very passionate about Islam, or they're very passionate about Judaism or anything like that, then I can kind of use that as how proud am I to be Catholic? How can I live like them? How can I be like them, in the sense that taking the full advantage of being Catholic and being a part of my own religion and being proud of that. So people from other religions, other worldviews have been excellent examples throughout my time here at Embry-Riddle. So, that's just bits of what it's done for me so far as, the development of going to the Interfaith Youth Corps and then beginning my job here as a fellow and only continuing that understanding, that learning process, and sort of the connections you make here are more they're more dynamic because there's already kind of that mutual understanding that everyone is not everyone knows everything. So then if it's like I have a question about something that that Protestants believe in, or someone who is not Catholic has a question about what Catholics believe in and stuff like that, and then just kind of having that open curiosity that it's fair game. If you don't understand something or you want to know something more, and we can all talk about it, we can all have a level-headed discussion about it, not be judgmental or jump to conclusions or make askew comments about things. It's just an environment where it's like, no, we don't know everything, and we'd like to learn, and we'd like to grow in mutual understanding, not just grow for ourselves in what we know, but everyone kind of understands that they can grow, and that how we grow together is just by sharing and getting to know more about not just each other, but our religions and our personal views.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
So going back to the Interfaith Youth Conference, and you were saying that you went into it very close-minded, with a very set view of how the world worked. So what made you choose to go to the Interfaith Youth Conference in the first place? What made you decide to try something so drastically new like that?
Right. So I have an older brother, and he was a minister for retreat planning at Seattle University, which is a Jesuit university there in Seattle, Washington. And he planned retreats, not for Catholics, but just spiritual retreats that primarily focused on students of multiple religions. And that was something that always kind of garnered my attention, was how do you plan a retreat like that, and how does a retreat like that go? And that kind of initial curiosity was something that had stemmed a few years ago, and then Reverend Keck and Father Tim here at the chaplain's office had reached out to me and invited me to be a part of the delegation that went to the IFYC. And I decided to, I was like, maybe this is a good way to start, seeing how to do a spiritual retreat or something like that. And that's why I went on the retreat, on that trip. And getting on the trip, I didn't really acknowledge the fact that I was going to be going with people of other religions and stuff like that. And when I got in the car, and when I met the group and I got in the car, I was I wasn't nervous, I wasn't apprehensive. I was just that a lot of parts of that trip were just surprises, where I was just surprised at myself, surprised at other people, surprised at the circumstances, being in a car for 6 hours with, people of multiple different religions that definitely didn't share the same viewpoints as I did. And kind of just being surprised at how patient I was, how that apprehension wasn't present, and how I was more able to just kind of the environment fostered that ability to feel more comfortable and okay, maybe I should learn about this, maybe I should do this. So by the time we got to Atlanta, it had just kind of grown even more, where I was okay, I'm definitely going to be here to learn. And there were some remarks that were made in the opening of the entire event, and I just was I had never heard those kind of remarks made before, like mentioning gender neutral bathrooms or anything like that. And I had never been kind of in a situation where I was where I had been presented with something like that. And I was I'm not uncomfortable about this. I'm not even though I know what my religion teaches and stuff like that, but on top of that, I had already had instances in my past that had kind of taught me that, like, assumptions about people, about groups, is never a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've met plenty of Catholics who are better Catholics than, you know, anyone, let's say anyone in a regular relationship. But then it's like, if you meet a Catholic who could be gay, bisexual, anything like that, you'd be surprised how much of a better minister, how much better of a Catholic they are in comparison to some of these people who have been cradled since they were cradle Catholics, and now they're like 80 and they're just they're useless as far as Catholicism goes, as far as like the beliefs we have. And I don't know, it's really interesting to have kind of seen that, and still have been, to see that stuff when I was younger, and to still have been very close-minded about everything, and then showing up to the IFYC and kind of having that affirmation that it was like, yeah, the stuff I experienced back in the line, I should kind of bring to here and understand that this applies to the entirety of any spiritual group or worldview group, where the misconceptions can just hamper the ability to foster a relationship that it could be very healthy. And I thought that was utterly important as far as IFYC went, was me being able to acknowledge the fact that not only the stuff in my current life situation as far as college goes, and kind of navigating that course, but also stuff that had happened in the past was also relevant to now. So yeah.
Very cool. Thank you. So going back to afterwards, how has what you've learned from like the IFYC, like working with the fellows here at the Center for Faith, how has that experience also helped to expand your worldview and enhance just everyday aspects of your life as well?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. Becoming a fellow here kind of marked like the official, I guess, culmination of like the interfaith work I'd already done, because I went to IFYC and then wasn't able to pursue interfaith work as much as I would have liked to at first. And so when I was actually presented, it wasn't directly associated with the position of a fellow, but I was offered to begin training for the sacristan position at the Catholic Student Union Mass on Sundays. And I was like, yes, of course. And then that's when I was notified that it was actually a job here as a fellow with the Center for Faith and Spirituality, and I was even more excited about that, because I was like, okay, I do plenty of work with the Catholic Student Union, and it's a great group, but I would very much enjoy having more interfaith channels and abilities to do work and stuff like that. So when I first came in during the semester, I was very excited, very open with getting to know the other fellows. I started in January.
Okay, this year.
Yes, I started in January of this year. So from then on, I was just being able to get closer with the fellows over time, and to kind of, again, have those conversations that we had some in IFYC, but to kind of continue those conversations and to move into something more casual. It doesn't have to be every single time we have to talk about very deep interfaith related subjects. It's just sometimes we can sit down and have a normal conversation about what's going on in classes, and then having like the genuine care for each other, which was something that I found very interesting about entering the fellows group, is how much there is, Reverend Keck makes a very avid attempt in order to make everyone understand and like kind of feel the love, in a sense that that everyone that works here, everyone that's a part of this group cares and is there for each other. So he's excellent at fostering that sort of environment and allowing the fellows the opportunity to kind of delve more personally within themselves and kind of speak the truth of their hearts more so. So it's really, I think that's one of the more beautiful daily impacts that happens from the group, is just, just simple interactions with each other can significantly change our day and change our moods or anything like that. And I think the fellows group is like, that's one of the most excellent daily parts of it. And then as far as like just those deep IFYC kind of style conversations, the fact that we can have them so casually, that we can have them so comfortably, and and be as candid as we want, you know, and I don't have to, like, if I say anything about my religion to someone else that had asked me about it or anything like that, I don't feel any sort of judgment or any sort of claim that is not right, or that this is right and something else. I never get that, and it's really interesting because growing up in a Catholic family, in a Catholic church, it's like we shouldn't be, you know, it's inherently against what we believe in that we be judgmental. We don't want that, and how eye-opening it is that it's like, well, look at these other people from all these other religions, and they're not judgmental about mine. You know, this is a group I want to associate with more, right? And that's not to say I don't appreciate or understand or love Catholicism, because I very much do. You know how active I am in the Catholic Student Union and what I believe, but the stuff I learned from here and the stuff I've learned from the teachings of the church and the magisterium, all that stuff, all of it kind of combines and makes it into this one grand image for me, and I'm very, very pleased to have that one grand image as opposed to just one half of the story. I love having the ability to see both sides of the spectrum, at least, and when it comes to Catholicism on one side and, you know, this religion on the other, or anything like that, or any other worldview in general, and just having that ability to compare the two or combine the two, which is really what we're going for here, is the ability to bring together like all of the religions to kind of this mutual understanding that it's like, okay, we're all in this together, we kind of all believe the same thing, treat everyone good, treat everyone equally as you would like to be treated, but we don't have to try and convert each other, we don't have to try and go out of our way to change each other's views or anything like that. Like, no, it's, you know, it's that
we're all here to learn.
Exactly, we're all here to learn, we all have that mutual understanding, so I think it's beyond important to kind of foster that environment, especially within a university campus where being religiously aware, being culturally aware of people, of places, makes you a better citizen. It makes you a more, how would I say, a more
developed person?
Yeah, and a citizen that people actually want to hang out with, actually want to interact with, and have a relationship with. And
well, and especially on a campus like this that's international, you want everybody to understand each other and their fellow peers and be respectful and be open-minded towards, you know, people that come from all over the world, different countries that aren't necessarily, don't have our same worldview because they've grown up in a completely different area. So
exactly,
absolutely, yeah,
completely agree with that. And it also kind of goes for the same fact that it's the fellows, like I was saying earlier, have a genuine care for each other, and that's also something that can be sometimes hard to find on a campus, on such a strong STEM campus, which there's nothing wrong with it being a strong STEM campus. It's just sometimes the level of interaction that happens is very cold and it's very minimal, and that doesn't always, we're human, it doesn't matter how good you are with computers, it doesn't matter how good you are with this, if you can't relate with another person on an emotional level, you're useless to the overall good of society. You should be able to connect with another person and have that ability to not only receive love, but to give love, to share that emotion, to share that joy with other people, because it is what makes this place, it's what makes the world a better place, is having that genuine care for each other.
Absolutely. All right, I think we're just about out of time, but thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, of course,
today.
thank you.
Yeah. All right, and with that, I think we're going to sign off. If you guys have any more questions, you can email me at roddeys@my.erau.edu. If you have questions about the discussion today, if you have questions about maybe coming on an IFYC and Interfaith Youth Corps conference at any point, feel free to email me at any time.